All right. Where did everyone go? If you're just joining us, the Syndicate is a scam. Did you know that? It's a scam. You are being conned, and we thank you for your service. I remember Zach from the military told me that we're all engaged in a con game because con is short form for confidence. And because outcomes determine adjectives, if you make people money, they call you a founder. But if the project fails, they call you a scam artist. What they fail to realize is that in any jungle, long before humans existed, every animal in the animal kingdom is engaged in a Red Queen's race, because organisms must continue to evolve, not to get ahead, but to merely survive. Oh. I'm sorry, where was I? Oh, yes, that's right. The Syndicate is a scam. We're talking about con artists. That outcomes determine adjectives. If Emily from Theranos was successful, we'd call her the next Steve Jobs. But because she wasn't, we call her a scam artist and we put her in jail. Let's say the Syndicate is a scam. How would you transform that risk? One way, if you believe the Syndicate was a scam, one of the ways to mitigate the risk is to decrease your interaction with the Syndicate. That makes sense. But what if you wanted to benefit from the activities that are happening while the scam is taking place? Well, you could probably use it to identify, like, let's say you went to a conference and you thought the conference was a scam. Couldn't you still achieve your objective by attending the conference, even though it's a scam, and meeting the right people and saving them from financial ruin? Could be. We know that hate travels faster than love. And so the more people who are calling us out, the better it is for marketing. Jordan Peterson joked around about how every time the blue-haired Karens were upset at him, he would sell more books. So the criticism of Jordan Peterson is what helped them become financially independent. You know, Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian built an entire billion-dollar company based on people hating them. So I guess the real answer is not why do people hate us, but how do we get more people to hate us? Fascinating. I mean, we could always do the easiest route, which is to pay people to false flag us. That's an obvious one, right? How do we get more people to hate us? Oh, making money. Making money makes people hate you. Yeah, that's what we discovered today. If I make money on the internet, it's good. But if you make money on the internet, you're a scam artist. Attribution theory. That's fascinating. It's kind of one of those pot calling the kettle black kind of scenarios. Because if you recruit people to buy your digital currency, you're recruiting them to buy the digital currency because when they buy it, there is more liquidity. And more liquidity means you might make more money. But it's fair for people to call things scams in an MLM if they're not directly benefiting from it. So that's fair too. If my enemy makes money, then the tactics they're employing are of that of the devil. Yes, I can see that. If my enemy is successful, then necessarily any tactic that they're using, even if I'm using the same tactic, is a crime, a felony, one might say. So that makes sense. You can tell that people haven't done sales before. Right. There is that idea around sales that all sales is manipulation. And why you would gender manipulation is beyond me. What about woman manipulation? I would argue that there's just as much woman manipulation than there is man manipulation. What about they manipulation? Anyways, furry manipulation. All right, so what's the calculus on this? So the first layer is attribution theory. If something good happens to me, I associate it with my character. If something good happens to you, I associate it with luck. If something bad happens to me, I associate it with luck. And if something bad happens to you, I associate it with your character. That's attribution theory. So we also have this idea that outcomes determine adjectives. That if something good happens, you're a savior. If something bad happens, you're the devil. If something good happens and I didn't profit, you're the devil. If something good happens and I profit, you're Jesus. So outcomes determine adjectives. Is it a scam or is it an investment? Well, it depends. How much money have you made this month? So outcomes determine adjectives. We have attribution theory, which is how we explain and justify and make rational the events that happen to others and ourselves. Oh, we are all the protagonist of our own lives, right? So if I'm the protagonist, then protecting people from scams is being a hero. Outcomes determine adjectives. We are all the protagonists of our own lives. What else? People's inexperience with sales. That's a big one. So when people look at sales, is they necessarily think manipulation. So that's the other piece. Nope. Sorry, I got a call. So we're talking about becoming popular through hatred. Of course, as you know, the Syndicate is a scam if you're just joining us. We were looking at the principles by which how do people come up with the stories they use to make sense of reality? One part of it is attribution theory. Another part is outcomes determine adjectives. We have to remember that we are all the protagonists of our own lives. And we have to remember that most people have never been in sales. And so the more inexperience they have in sales, the more likely they will associate it with manipulation. Mhm. If I sell it, I'm righteous. If you sell it, it's manipulation. If you sell it and I don't make money, it's manipulation. Okay? The appraisals that people make have more to do with themselves than anyone else. Do you see that? The way we describe things is more of projections on Plato's cave than it is a data-driven decision on what's actually happened. We cannot separate the appraisal from the appraiser. Hmm. The ruler selected tells you the paradigm of the measurer. Hmm. Jealousy, huh? Jealousy is a funny force. Jealousy. We should expect it to come with success. Jealousy is a very natural thing. There are two ways to have the tallest building: build the tallest building or tear everyone else's down. Now, at the same time, in nature, we have many types of partnerships and joint ventures. In nature, one such partnership is called symbiosis. But there are different types of partnerships. They have symbiosis. We have things like commensalism, where one party benefits but the other remains unchanged. And then we have parasitism. Parasitism is what happens when the French invade your country. No, parasitism is when there is a joint venture where one animal suffers and the other one benefits. A parasite is a being that takes resources from you without exchanging resources in the other direction. They just take and take and take. And so when you're called an MLM or you're called a scam or you're being accused of tricking people, what they are saying is that you are masquerading as a symbiote, but are really a parasite who is only here to feed on the blood of the people in the jungle. In economics, they would call it a rent seeker. Adam Smith would call this behavior rent seeking. Is it possible that one person's symbiote is another's parasite? It's true. It happened in Spider-Man. Remember the black alien symbiote that became Venom? It started as the alien symbiote. And what's more parasitic than a venom? So they had the evolutionary ecology down. So when they say you're being a scam, when they say you're an MLM, what they're saying is that you're a parasite who does not want to have an equitable exchange. I'm not arguing whether that's the case or not. I'm just trying to decide or determine what are the parameters and the thought processes at play here. Words don't stand for things, they stand in for things. When we talk to people, we're not talking to them, we're talking to their emotional state. Who stands to benefit is always the question. Key Bono. At the same time, it's not the first time I've been accused of being part of a scam. And it's likely that I will continue to be accused of it as such. And I think the only appropriate response is to actually lean into it. Oh man, we've been scamming 18 people yesterday. You know how many people want us to do work? Yes. The Donald Trump defense. And so, if anything, let us remind ourselves to be together alone. When people talk to you, they're primarily talking to themselves. When people talk to you, they're not talking to you, they're talking to themselves. Speech generates dopamine. Something we're missing. So, knowing that risk cannot be destroyed but merely transformed, that's the key. The converted are always the most devout. You ever meet a Caucasian Hindu? Yo, they believe in Hinduism more than Hindus do. The converted are always the most devout. So anyone you have as a heckler is actually not only your biggest source of laughs, but a critical part of the process. We just have to follow the Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton school of management. And also recognize that there's a tendency for us to be the protagonists of our own lives. At the same time, we have enough evidence that progress is being made with people such that it really doesn't matter what anyone thinks anymore. Because progress is being made. And I'll put my progress beside anyone on Twitter Spaces. I remember somebody accused me of being a scammer, and I said, ask about me. Ask about me. You'll see. The other aspect, too, is if somebody hates you, that's exactly the person you want to keep close. Does that make sense? Me and my friend have an agreement. If anyone talks shit, it's like, yo, Mike is an asshole. You know what your job is? When somebody says Mike is an asshole, you have to say, I know, right? He's a piece of shit. And gather all the information you can. Some of the people that hate us are some of our closest friends. Don't believe everything you hear. Especially in a world of voice actors. I mean, that's an interesting point. What if you became the devil everyone thinks you are? That's a good experiment to run. So, if you actually became what people think you are, then what you would do is charge exorbitant amounts of money for things. Okay, so let's lean into this. So, to really be a scam artist, we need to charge a lot of money for stuff. We would need to not deliver on our promises. It would be to ideologically subvert entire communities. That's a good one. That's another thing. It would to keep people in endless debate cycles so they don't do anything and spend most of their times arguing. How else could we be a scam artist? Charge a lot of money. Use the project money for vacations. That's a good one. I guess the ultimate scam is if we were funded by a political party. Maybe you can look into that. It is election season. Yeah, let's try this. Let's do the first one. So, to lean into the scam artist thing, we have to start charging people exorbitant amount of money. I like that part. We don't have to not deliver. We don't have to do ideological subversion. We don't need to be associated with a political party. We can just take the good part of being a scam artist and just charge more money. Via negativa, huh? Very effective. Most people think via positiva. But if you can if you can understand how people think of you, if you can understand who they believe you are, you can play with that.